4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, hello, hello. Hi, everyone. Here we are with Nina at the Global Empowerment Summit. This is the afternoon session, and we had just finished a workshop with Andrea Chu. It was amazing, and she was disclosing with us the 4 C's. If you want to know what it is, then head up to the YouTube channel and rewatch the session with Andrea. We were live for around 40 minutes. And now we are here with Nina from Popcorn Fest, who are already doing amazing job for all the people who are joining them and creating their brand awareness. And I saw all your students, some of them are on the speaker lineup.
Yes.
So more than 15 people, I believe, from Popcorn. So I'm really happy. I just found them online. So it was most probably your advice why I found them.
that means it's working, whatever we're doing with them.
Exactly.
Hi,
So
Anis.
I just want to say a quick hi to the audience. So hi, everyone. Nice to see you here. Please feel free to ask questions during this session. We have around 20-25 minutes with Nina. Then Pjero will come up on the stage, and then we will talk with Stefan about a very specific topic, menopause from a man's perspective. So it's kind of like a very nice topic. So let's go, Nina. Before we jump into your profession and what you do and what is brand building, let's get to know you a little bit better. So tell us a little bit, not just your profession, but a little bit the personal side.
Definitely. Personal slide. Oh my God, where do I begin? So many things I've been doing all my life. I think at one point I've been doing so many things that I wanted to get back to corporate because I was producing films, TV shows, acting, hosting, emceeing. I wanted to get back to corporate because I was tired of this whole, content creating scene. It was people like being mean to each other, and I just didn't like it. That this person from corporate went like, how do I fit you in? Because you've done so many things, kind of thing. So it's only after I got on LinkedIn and LinkedIn found me, I was featured in the newspaper, that LinkedIn was like, wow, we're looking for somebody like you who's had such a diverse career list, So I was a Petronas scholar. So I actually did business reengineering in Petronas. I was one of the first female marshal car driver for the F1. So we were the safety car driver kind of thing. So I was the first female one. I learned how to drive a motorbike at that time at the circuit itself. From there, I did financial planning, mutual funds. That's how I learned how to sell. I also did a little bit of coaching at this personal development thing that I do. And then that's when I went into acting, TV show and film hosting. And then I ended up in MDEC, where I was exposed to the animation scene. I got to meet a lot of Malaysian talents and how we're, all over the world. Their IPs are all over the world. Hey, everybody who's tuning in. And that's when I discovered digital and social media and startup. And I was exposed to the startup scene, and getting into popcorn was kind of like a whirlwind in itself, because I knew social media was important. I think we just wanted to share the knowledge with everybody, but then we were doing everything which wasn't focused, and we ended up being LinkedIn influencers. Let's just put it that way. Yeah. Team building as well. I was also in team building. I guess I would say that I was that person who was looking for home, and I think social media is also home. Oh, and now you think it would have ended, Andrea? No. At 40 something, I am now learning coaching and healing, and apparently I'm pretty good at it. So yeah. So that's a little bit about me. I guess I'm constantly looking for things to get myself into, but I think healing could be the last part, because it's part of coaching as well. Yeah.
I think that's part of the thing why we connected and why we are so similar, because don't ask me how many things we did. I did also throughout my life. And it's just this constant curiosity. I don't know how you feel about it, but I believe to being human, it's being curious, and it's so nice to always find something new to explore, new books to read, new certifications to do. I don't know, new people to help. There are so many things out there that we can do.
Exactly. So, hey, Jagadish Worry, yeah, and Facebook user, I can't see who that is.
Yeah, just type your name because sometimes Facebook settings are not
Yes,
allowing
let us know
who
because
you are. Yeah.
I'm tuning in from YouTube as well.
So very nice to have you here, and your topic for today is very specific. It's about the new era of brand building and the business
Mm-hmm.
influencer and thought leader, CNO, C multiply O,
CXO, yeah, lowercase. Because
CXO. Yeah.
because apparently the big ones are like for chief experience officer, but when the small one, the small X is for any C level, so it's a X. Is it a question mark kind of thing? Yeah.
Nice, very good. We learned something today. I didn't know. I
Even I
wanted to
didn't
ask you
know.
about this.
Yeah.
So let's see. Let's see actually what is exactly your perspective and your focus on the new era of branding. There are so many things that we see online. Everyone is
Mm-hmm.
telling different things. I'm most of the time the person who likes to learn it on their own skin. So I try everything and then I figure out what's working for me. But what you use? You said you have a specific strategy at Popcorn Fest that you are
Mm-hmm.
using.
I think first things first, branding is I think there's so many things to branding. But for us at Popcorn, because we started out thinking or wanting to be YouTube influencers. So for us, we were looking at positioning ourselves as influencers. And then we realized there's this whole bunch of people where they are in business and they can position themselves as thought leaders or business influencers. And yet nobody was doing it. The only reference we had in the country was, I don't know if you know this, Andrea, but we have, what's his name? Alif Shukri, who is, very controversial. Then you've got Datuk Vida, who has a tiara and she has a music video. And that was my reference for business influencers. And I'm like, and or you had somebody like Tony Fernandez or somebody like Richard Branson, which is like kind of high up there. It's not achievable, God level, which is not achievable by my standards. You know what I mean? By me, just a human being, or you have Oprah. And then suddenly I saw this lady who was creating content on YouTube. And all the influencers that I knew up to that point was hot or had like a ridiculously photoshopped body, kind of thing. And they were young. They were like below 20 years old or 18 years old. They were jet setting everywhere. And to me, I was like, what? So I couldn't resonate with them. Even though we were talking about all these social media and influencing, I just couldn't relate until I found this lady who's about 72 years old. She's got like 22 grandkids, and she's got 7 kids. And she had 800,000 subscribers on YouTube, and she's described as the Forbes by Forbes as the Disneyland of quilting, because people would come in by the busloads to learn quilting. Can you believe it? Quilting from her. So I was amazed. She was employing 400 people in her little town of 1,800. So I was like, damn, that is a business influencer, and she started from scratch. And multi-million-dollar company. And then you have this guy, this old grandfather in India with 1 million followers, subscribers, cooking, this huge food and donating it to charity, 1 million subscribers. And his English was not even perfect in the description. So we were like, damn, that's what we're looking for. And then I accidentally became an influencer on LinkedIn. Without realizing it. And we were doing certain strategies that the influencers who are our mentors taught us. So basically that is the secret to us. It's to position yourself, to know your personal brand, and to position yourself as a thought leader and business influencer, and using LinkedIn to kind of be sort of like your landing page, and you can build your authority, impact, and income. Yeah, so that is our secret recipe, so that when you position yourself as a business influencer, you also grow your community, and that's where you can safeguard your business regardless of the situation the market is in, whether it's doing great or whether it's at a low point. You always have access to your community. to find out what they want, like your summit, what women want, what is it that they want, how can we help them, regardless of what's happening in the market, we can help. We can help you as long as you have that amazing relationship. So it's about being a business influencer, being an authority. So I would call this a relationship marketing, personal branding, authority marketing, social selling, community marketing. Those are the things that we talk about. So maybe it's not just one secret, it's a lot of secrets, and social selling as well. It's a combination of everything.
I guess people can get to know more about this when they are joining your PopConfest community, because you have a community and you have
Yes.
your own services, so you can learn about PopConfest more. Especially if you follow Nina on LinkedIn. I just put her name in the running banner here on the bottom of the page, so you see Nina Sharil Khan. Just search for her on LinkedIn and you will find a lot of tips also in her daily postings. And then let's just talk about one thing that always comes to my mind, because everyone is talking about thought leadership and maybe no one said the definition straight. So what is exactly thought leadership for someone who is not in the social media world, not in the influencer world? What is thought leadership?
Thought leadership for me, I'm just going to simplify it. It basically means what it is, thought leader. So that means for whatever industry you're in or whatever experience you have, you are the leader in terms of the thought. So you're contributing, that people look at you as the person with experience. So you don't, like I was so misguided when I first started thinking that, oh, you have to be like Richard Branson, you have to be like Oprah, and then your thought or your innermost stuff carries weight. But actually that's not true. If you have a life experience, even if you're 25, this is what I say, a 25-year-old in this, in this amazing time, 2021, 2020, you have an experience of being a 25-year-old in 2021. I do not have that. Me and Andrea have an experience of being 25 at whatever year it was, kind of thing. So that is your experience. Own it, take it. Nobody can take that away from you. So the question is, what kind of thought leader do you want to be? And in which area do you want to stake your claim? That sort of thing. And regardless of where you are somebody else's thought leader. Somebody looks up to you. So you could be a 25-year-old and a student who's 16 looks up to you. Oh, that's who I want to be when I'm 25, or somebody who's at 50 and who's climbing mountains, kind of thing. That's who I want to be at 50, like J-Lo. That's who I want to be at 50 kind of thing. Yeah.
It's really interesting. It's really interesting because it's bringing back the old things, like from the old times when we were sharing experiences, right? And it's kind of like we are trusting these sharings from the elders, not online, but it was offline.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we talk about, going back to the old stage kind of thing. So whatever industry you're in, you could be the thought leader in that industry. And the amazing thing about thought leadership is right now it has become a commodity because people are always curious. It's just like what Andrea said. People are always curious, and we want to know about the behind the scenes. So we talk about the salesperson is no longer a salesperson in this day and age. Because nobody wants to be sold to. Every single one of us is already Googling things. We don't want to hear somebody sell to us, right? Yeah, so we're the best Googlers. We'll get information. But what we want is those secrets, the behind the scenes of what's happening in that industry or for that work, so that, we'll get knowledge from there, that sort of thing. Yeah.
All this so beautiful, and you are so passionate about this, so I'm really happy to hear more about it. Let's just say that where do you start to become a thought leader? What's the first step on this journey?
I think the first step where a lot of people forget is, first things first, what is it that you want in life? What is it that you want in life? You got to go back to you. Who are you as a person? What are your goals? What do you want in life? And what do you want to be remembered? Who do you want to serve? And that is the first thing we need to have a very clear head on. Because a lot of people, they just go straight to content. They start creating content. It's not about that. You have to be conscious of who you are and what is it that you want to create in the world. And you know what? This is a foreign concept to a lot of people because most of the time life just happens. We go and it accidentally happens. But when we work with our students, it's mostly, okay, Stop, take a breather. Why do you do what you do? What excites you? What is it that you want to impact in the world? Because when we talk about being a business influencer, it's a larger than life. Who are you? What do you stand for in the world? What is the debt that you want to create in the world? What is the impact you want to create? And who are you creating this impact to? So those are the things that we look for, kind of thing. Yeah.
So that's a good tip, actually, to start at yourself and start what you want and figure it out. And now a lot of people, a lot of experts during this summit were talking about how to explore yourself. We had a workshop about this with Juliet in the morning. We
Nice.
also had many people like talking about the self-exploration part and the strategizing part, because when you start to get to know yourself, you can build a life strategy, and it will be not really strict, right? We all know that, Nina, that things can happen to us, but at least you see a path that you are keeping in front of you, and whenever you have to improvise, you adapt to the new situation, you keep it flexible enough. I'm always using the dance perspective, you have to keep a little space to improvise and to adapt to the situation, but the main goal, the main path will be clearer and clearer and clearer with the years passing by, and with the expectation and with the experience that you're going throughout the years, right?
Definitely.
So let's go a little bit explore further the next step. So we already know that we have some thoughts about something, we love it, and we would like to become thought leaders in this field. I know myself, I know what I would like to do. So how do I start? What's the next step after I know myself and I know my goal?
So once you know yourself, the next thing really is, what is the impact that you want to create in the world? Who is it that you want to create impact for? Hi, Karishma. So the next thing is to know who is it that you want to create that impact, because social media is two-way. You need to know who you are. You need to know who you're creating an impact to, and what is the pain that they're solving. So those are the first things you need to know. The more that you know the pain, the easier it is. And if you're able to communicate those people's pain better than they can themselves, that's when they think you have the solution, even if you don't. So you need to know their pain. In fact, this is what I tell people: you need to know them better than you know your own scandal, the person you're having an affair with. Why? For lack of a better word, because you need to know their biggest pain, their biggest worries. What keeps them up at night? What are the things that worries them the most? What are the things that excite them? What are the things that push their button? What are the things that they go like, kind of thing? Because when you know this, you're really understanding it. And then you, once you know them, you can figure out which social media platform to go to, because there's no point of you going to Facebook when your people are on LinkedIn. There's no point going to LinkedIn if your people are on TikTok. So that's where it's very important to know who you are serving.
And I really love this idea, because most of the platforms and everyone online, and if you watch all of these influencers, kind of like they are saying, go here, go there, do this, do that, all of the platforms at the same time, and just, hustle and be there everywhere. And then you are just like, no, I don't want. I slow down. I tried, but it's just, first, unmanageable. Second, you cannot really spend quality time with the people on social media, right? I love seeing Fong's comment here. Beautiful cake is just a beautiful cake. If no one buys it, it is just a beautiful cake.
Then you just become that surface thing. And I think this is what a lot of people who want to be influencers don't get. It's not just about the outside. It's really about the inside that matters. And once you've sorted out that inside, your message will just jump out across social media. It has its own algorithm. Let's just put it that way. And that algorithm, I believe, is the heart algorithm. And when you do something from your purpose and from that thing that you want to contribute to the world, it just jumps out. It's an algorithm by itself. And I think Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram just gets in tune with it. I don't know how it works.
And here comes also another thing that people believe that once you go on social media, you will be very popular everywhere. But they don't. They forget sometimes that, but those people, like for example, we were mentioning Jennifer Lopez, they were already famous. And they went with their teams on social media, which is totally different, because everyone knew who is Jennifer Lopez, so everyone wanted to follow her. So it doesn't work for people who are just starting to build up their names and their brands, right? Because it's a different strategy. You don't start at the same level, just like you said about Richard Branson and Tony Fernandez. They post something everyone follows. But you are
Exactly.
just someone who is starting up, so you have to build it
Yes.
up first from another
Yeah.
perspective, right?
Exactly. Which goes into the third one, which goes back to your personal brand and to who you are and who you're serving. Because what is your content pillar? And content pillars are the themes that you talk about. Because I have a lot of people who would be known as influencers. They get a lot of views, they get a lot of engagement. They're interviewed by people, they have their own shows, and yet they're not able to monetize. Why? Because they go on social media to talk about the sun, the moon, the cake, the dog, the cat, the plant, but they don't. There's no strategy to it, so nobody knows what they do, what business they're in, and they're not able to monetize. So yeah, they just talk about everything. So there's no
So
strategy.
very important, very important points that we go. So you know yourself. After you know yourself, you know who you are talking to, but to the pain level. Then you
Yeah.
figure out which social media you choose, and then you figure out what you will post there, at least what you will talk about, and create bubbles of
Yes.
content.
Yeah.
Whatever you will
And
talk about.
once you have the main the main content pillars, things just become easy. So it sounds like it's a lot, but actually it's not. It's very easy. It's very manageable. We structure it in bite-sized pieces so that it's easy for people to understand it. And
Very good
then
tips.
only then you can start creating your profile on social media, and then you start creating your content. That this 1, 2, 3 is your foundation. Once you've got that right, you're ready to fly. But a lot of people, they run straight to creating content without giving it much thought.
And I love this because I believe I was always telling this to people, that I learned it on my own whenever I was doing this on my own. And I haven't learned the personal branding part. And I went to a course about personal branding. And then I realized, well, yeah, that's just like posting and sharing and increasing the garbage on internet, because you don't really have a strategy. You don't know who you are talking to. You don't know who you are. And you just start to post it.
Yeah.
At least your friends and family will follow. But it's not really
exactly.
the thing why you're
Yeah.
hanging out on social media. So it's really, really good tip. And Nina is the first one telling you the truth. And I love it that at first you really have to figure out who you are, figure out these content pillars, figure out what you want to talk about, to whom you want to talk, and where. And then later you create your profile and you start content creation.
And I think it's
post
also
sharing.
that there's two things which are important. Sometimes you don't get it right, and it's okay. It's not the end of the world. It's a working process. And you know what? Even as a human, like, we evolve as time goes by. So you will need to kind of update and update every, your personal brand, who you are, and sometimes your customers. So you want to be fluid, just like how Andrea is saying, like dance. You don't be. It's not cast in stone. So don't worry. Yeah, you don't have it right, because the whole thing is, you have version 1, and then you might have version 2, version 3, and they're all better than version 1. Let's just put it that way, because it's all a process.
This is really good what you shared, actually, because it's a niching down what happens to all of us once you are there, and you are just not totally changing everything, but you are keeping the things, listening to the people commenting on your posts and all this. You are niching down on your brand, and you are getting closer to your target audience and to your things, and it's a really lovely process. I found it very exciting to getting more clear on with the help of, for example, LinkedIn. I got so clear of what I want to do, and that this is just when you really listen to the things that you share and what people share with you, that you can really focus on the things that you want.
Exactly.
Let's get to Sorry, just want to get on Karishma, and after that we can continue. So she's saying we also need to know the definition of influencer is educating people and making a difference in the community, not just makeup poses and filters. Very, very good message.
Exactly, because a lot of people just go straight to the content without thinking much about the personal brand and the impact that we make. In fact, the first thing that we cover is mindset. In fact, I would say 80% of the work that I do, my students, are mindset. And that's where the healing comes in, because, when we're posting, our insecurities come up. When we're creating videos, we're constantly judging ourselves. So where you've got that imposter syndrome, you're doubting yourself, you don't know your self-worth. So that's where I work with people to kind of clear the limiting beliefs and to help them see themselves through unconditional love. Because when we appreciate ourselves and embrace ourselves for all that we are, then the world responds. Because otherwise, there you go, Karishma say. Because otherwise, the world will not be able to see how amazing you are if you are not able to see how amazing you are. That's just how the world works. It's kind of you'll find that a lot of the students, we go back to them, we ask them what's the thing that you learned, and they will say, oh my god, popcorn's the best thing that ever happened to me. And they will say that because I found myself, I found my voice, and I'm able to embrace me for all that I am. Oh, that to us is our biggest win. That's when we realize that, yes, okay, because I think, yes, we teach LinkedIn, but really our business is about people. Yeah.
I think that's the way to go today. People are the main thing to focus on. We share our experiences, we share who we are, and then we inspire people through our acting. So it's kind of like something that brings this nice dynamic spiral of evolving and developing ourselves and others. And I really love how you do it. And I have to say that all the 200 experts who are in this summit, they are very, very similar from this perspective, because I was searching for people who are seeing the person first, the singular person, the me. Because if the me, in dancing we say, if you don't have the strong core, then after that you cannot really go further, and you will always be hurt. So first you have to develop your muscles and your definitions and your and your base, and then after that you can go somewhere else, which is kind of like I'm very happy that all of you are sharing about this and building up the people from the base.
That's how we're able to get lasting results, because we have to go within, and we help our students with that. Yeah, that's our thing. Yeah,
so
I worked
is
with
saying,
Karishma.
So as a student, she's saying she helped me to, so I guess Nina helped me to trust myself, and I have changed so much. She taught me that I'm actually afraid of success and failure, and that was
Not
her
failure,
today. Yes.
Yeah, okay. And that was just one session with me, because I do coaching kind of thing. So yeah. Awesome, Karishma.
So please reach out to Nina anytime if you need help, and check out the Popcorn Fest. She is posting on LinkedIn very actively. So if you would like to just connect her, then you will find her name. Let me just put up the banner again so that you can see Nina Sharil Khan. You can find her on LinkedIn, and please reach out to her. And until Pjero is coming into the studio, what would be a message to the young and the wise? Let's say 2 different perspectives on brand building for youngsters who are just starting with it without experience. What should they focus on? And for people who are redefining themselves, restarting the life after something, how should these 2 focus groups start their journey?
I would give them the same advice, because finally they might be at different stage in life, but it goes back to the same thing. Trust yourself. Go find who you're meant to be. All of us have our purpose in life. All of us are meant to impact in whatever way we choose to impact. So I would say go within and find yourself. It's a lot harder than a lot of people say. If you're stuck, reach out to me. But there's a lot of people. There's 200 people who are talking about it, on this summit alone. So go within, find yourself, and find out what really makes you happy, and do it. And that personal branding is yours. And everybody deserves to have an awesome, amazing personal brand, even if you're an employee. That's what I believe. Because as an employee, when I was at work, I was, my brand was, this is the person that you go to if you want something to be done for honest and authentic feedback. That was my brand as an employee, kind of thing. So you definitely can get there. And here's what I also believe. Once the student is ready, the teacher will appear. So whenever you are ready, just ask the universe, I would say, and the means will be given to you. That's what I really believe in. Yeah.
And we have to say that everyone loves your energy, and I see also we are very we are very agitative, hyperactive person, and we are all about this, like moving our
The only
body.
thing is I don't dance. That's the only thing. I don't do any.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. It's so nice to see, and I just love it. So please, please, please reach out to Nina. She's giving so much of a positive energy, and she already did so much for other people. So maybe if you resonate with how she is and who she is, then please reach out. Most of the time about coaches, there are so many people available on the market, but I would say to you that just trust your gut feeling. If you feel that the person talking in front of you, it's really resonating with you, having a positive energy, and with makes you feel better and energized and motivated, then please reach out to these people, because it's some opportunity not to miss. Worst case scenario, you have one consultation session and then you head out. It's no problem to say no, but try. When you have this feeling of resonation, just try.
You are so right, because there's a lot of people out there. There's bound to be one for you and who you are to resonate with. So absolutely agree with you, spot on. And I would even go as far as talk to the people that they work with and find out what it's like to work with them.
So amazing. Let me just bring up Pjero, because last time I put you on the screen together, it was such an amazing double bubble.
Was it? Hi.
Hello. Hi, Pjero. How are you today?
Well, thank you. How are you both?
Great,
good.
thanks.
Having fun in the studio all day long.
Are you? I'm just going to stand back here, because it feels like if I'm here, it's like I'm too... My head is too close.
We will be in a different view. I just wanted to bring you on the same studio link for a time being, until I say goodbye to Nina. And I welcome you, Pjero, in the studio. So let's just finish with some question here, and maybe both of you can answer. What do you think is the most important thing on the way for a person to be themselves?
What is the thing that's in the way
of being, for a person to be themselves?
For me, I would say it's fear. A tough one, huh? For me, I would say it's fear. And I think it's scary to be yourself, because you don't know how people will accept you or not. And the reason why we're probably not ourselves is maybe because at a young age, we were probably rejected for showing that real part of us. And therefore, it's scary. Like even today, it's hard for me to be vulnerable. But, vulnerability is a strength. That's the way I see it. And so we're so scared to show that side of it. And I'm always like, oh, I don't cry, because I grew up with boys. So I'm one of the boys. kind of thing. That's what I believe. So I would say fear of what other people are thinking about us, fear of how people would judge us, fear of being accepted for all that we are. That would be my belief. What do you think, Pjero?
Let's do a short one, because I have to I know you before you start.
Okay.
I have to let Nina go. Short version, then you can
real awareness. People don't actually understand what it's costing them to stay the way they are compared to where they could be. So what they're doing is that lack of awareness is they're hindering their potential by thinking that this is better.
Thank you very much. That was really awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Very short. I'm proud of you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, Nina.
Bye, Nina.
Hi, Pjero. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm very, very well. I'm glad that you said short one, because I
know you.
I thought about it and I'm like, ooh, what's the most powerful thing I could say then?
No, it's so funny after listening to you and after doing 3 weeks with you already and listening to 150 sessions, I'm like, start to get to know you like really inside. So I'm like, all right, this I have to say before.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
No, Pjero, we have another topic today, which is very, very important, which is about exceptional relationships and families. And later you will come also with exceptional leadership in your workshop today. So if the
Yes.
audience is watching us, please, please, please tune in. We will have Pjero from 8 p.m. tonight, Singapore time, where he will be in the Zoom room and he will share with you a 50 minutes workshop. So please make sure you are there. Exceptional leadership, it's a hype topic today. Let's see from Pierre's perspective. But right now we are talking about exceptional relationships. So what is an exceptional relationship? I'm so curious of your perspective.
Okay, well, first of all, I'm going to talk about what it not is. Majority of the time, people are probably thinking like, I enjoy my relationship. It's really nice, it's loving. It's my partner's there for me, and so on. Let's just make it really, really clear that maybe you're sitting there right now thinking, well, I'm just existing in my relationship. What do I mean by that? Maybe someone made you feel unseen, unheard, maybe even criticized, or possibly even hurt. And what that tends to bring is a level of resistance. Now, we need some resistance in a relationship. We need some friction. But when there's resistance to speaking your mind to the other person, well, then that creates hidden agenda, unheard expectations, and they can evolve into resentment towards the other person, resentment towards yourself because you didn't speak up. And then that can bring a level of rejection. And from that rejection, you then start to check out. You basically hand in your resignation, and then you completely regress. And then there's no turning back. And you feel like you're just coexisting in the household. Now, nobody deserves to feel that way. Or maybe you feel like you're hurting. And I mean, right now, let's think about COVID. COVID has created so much uncertainty for people financially. And that uncertainty financially then creates disconnect moving forward when you want to have date nights or you want to go and book a holiday and you can't do it. And we start using this language around can't and we're unable to. And it's like, well, let's start thinking outside the square, but that takes a level of commitment to do that. And then from there, could you imagine trying to then homeschool, especially because of COVID? So you've got business people, you've got exceptional relationship that you're trying to create, and you've got business people, CEOs, executives at home, business owners at home, kids are at home, family dynamics changed. They're trying to run a business and they're also trying to homeschool. We're not even qualified teachers. The teachers are sending us the information via email and we have to print it out and then monitor our kids while we do it. How? The relationship will start to hurt naturally because you've got all these extras that you've got to do. And then there's the third stage of relationship, I feel as if what possibly creates turmoil. And that is a relationship that is just okay. Now, you're probably thinking, what do I mean by that? Well, a relationship that is just okay starts to have lack of communication or very little communication. And then when there's very little communication, well, then that creates very little intimacy. The word intimacy, into me, I see. So if you're not even then aligned with your values, misalignment of values with the other person, well, then how are you supposed to share your values with the other person? And then the relationship, then not only just intimacy will go down, well, then the sexual side of the relationship goes down as well. So there are three stages: existing, hurting, and just being okay. So if you think about that, and then you think about, well, okay, well, if that's what not an exceptional relationship is, then think about what is an exceptional relationship. So right now, if where you are is you're either hurting, you're either existing, or you're just okay, well, then where do you want to be? An exceptional relationship comes with 3 fundamentals. You need alignment. You must have that alignment in yourself, alignment in your values, alignment in the way you live, breathe, and eat a healthy, exceptional relationship. The next one is communication. You've got to have the communication. You've got to be willing to communicate yourself, to understand yourself, to be able to articulate yourself to the other person. And then you can't have an exceptional relationship without trust. You must have trust. They're the 3 fundamentals. So when you look at an exceptional relationship, and if you're watching in the audience right now, or you're watching the recording and it's like, where are you? And you're over here hurting, existing, or being okay in your relationship. And where do you want to be? You want to be having an exceptional relationship over here that's full of alignment, trust, and communication. Well, then you're thinking, how do I put those 2 together? Or how you put them together is me. That's where I come into it. So, Andrea, that's what I believe is an exceptional relationship.
So that's very well summarized, and I love how you put the 2 things together, so people can just say that, okay, you can identify yourself in a not good enough relationship if you just feel that you are just existing, not feeling good, but just like being there, hurting, and just being okay. We understood the first step. And then once you are aware of this, you can go towards your goal, which will be an exceptional relationship, and you can level it up, which will be alignment, communication, and trust, which is totally a different picture. But it's not as easy, right? When you are in this relationship and you have all these noises and you want to please your partner and you want to stay together and you're afraid that you will break up and everything and he will just shut the door and leave me. And even if it's a girl, like she will leave me. So what are the things, the do's and the don'ts for your path towards an exceptional relationship?
Okay, number 1, you need to understand that you go to a relationship to give something. You must understand that you want a relationship to give to the other person, not take. So that'll be number 1. Something to want that relationship to be able to give to it. You go to a relationship to give something. And you also go to a relationship to know what you want in return, which you have to be aware of is called receiving. So instead of give and take, I've looked at it through my own research, study, and knowledge that I believe it's give and receive, because it's very hard for us to receive a compliment. Now, what do I mean by that? Is like, so when you're walking past someone down the street, or you know of someone, they say, "Hey, you look really beautiful today." It's always received with this like, "Oh, thanks." Like, it's a real awkward moment. So when you give and receive openly, it means that you appreciate who you are. So you not only go to a relationship to give to the other person unwillingly without return, but you're giving to yourself when you're giving to somebody else. That would be one really big tip. The next one, I would say, when you focus on what you do or don't do in a relationship versus what your partner does or doesn't do, is when things change. Because then you're focusing on you and what you do or don't do, rather than looking for blame. Oh, you didn't do the dishes. You didn't put the garbage out. I asked you to cut the grass. You didn't do it. It's like, well, hang on a minute. Let's just go back a step. And this is an example. Let's just go back a step. Like, you may have asked me once and I said, okay. Now, everybody's mind is always busy. So if someone said, you know, can you cut the grass? And it's like, yep, I'll get to it after lunch. And then there's lack of communication, or someone got sidetracked, or someone got busy, which is what can happen. Let's be realistic. Well, all it takes is like another little, hey, do you remember me asking if you would be able to cut the grass after lunch? Oh, I'm glad you reminded me. It totally, I totally forgot. It just takes a simple question coming from a loving space. And majority of the time, if we extend the example, people are busy, partners are busy. And then what's going to happen is that partner then turns around and says, hey, I thought you were going to cut the grass after lunch. Like, we could step right into it. You've got tone, you've got language, you've got even the way you ask, like the fact that you're yelling across the room. Like when I do these exceptional relationship programs like one to many, and I've got a room full of people, it's funny how many people laugh because they know it's true. They know that the language that they use is true. There's so much element behind it that they have to face inside themselves to go, gosh, I got to take responsibility. Like I really make, that's me. I make it worse than what it actually is. They would be two really big points.
I'm loving the comments coming up. I'm loving the comments coming up here. So Jack is saying, understand that you want what you want to give something, and in return give back too. So she's already practicing it, and Anis was just saying that is eye-opening. And I would just take this thing a little bit further, because I experienced many times, we see your family, you see a lot of people around you, and you see when that communication goes bad. You see that, oh, she shouldn't have said this, because it's like a trigger that they are pushing a button, and then the whole bucket or the whole music after that, it's exactly the same way. The choreography just goes on and on and on, and it's exactly the same with starting with that button. So the blaming, the pushing it on someone else, to not checking in with yourself is starting this circle. So what would be the tool, or what is something that you used in your past that helped you to stop the circles from starting? Because once it started, it's really hard to slow it down. But before you started, how do you count until 10, or how do you do that?
One of the things that I think is really beneficial. So I'm going to talk about, obviously, our trigger first. Your trigger is yours. It's yours. It's individual to you, which means, and I want to paint the picture in the form of like a water pistol, I guess you could say. So you've got the water pistol is the whole shape of the water pistol. That is you as a person. Then you've got the water is like the water inside is the chemicals in your body. And then the trigger is the when you pull the trigger is the meaning of our emotions. So when someone says something, right, it's kind of like, oh, you didn't put the bin out, right? And that person has their internal meaning to themselves says something like, you didn't listen to me. Even though the person's language was, you didn't put the bin out. It's like that internal meaning of that person shouting it out like that, using that language is, you didn't put the bin out. Like it turns into like, oh, I forgot to put the bin out. Like, and then they go into self-blame, right? And then the little pump that pumps, when you pull the trigger, pumps the water and then shoots it out of the water pistol, is then the full chemical reaction of then the outburst. And then it's the projection, because the trigger, if I use a better word, the trigger is the perception. And then as you pull the trigger, the perception turns into projection, and then you project it out to the other person. And I want you to think about it. This is an easy way to remember, right? And I'll answer the question in a moment. You've got one finger pointing towards the other person, and then you've got three fingers pointing back to you, which means when you point towards someone, you're pointing one bit of information towards them, and three of them is actually your problem. Three of them is actually yours. So one of the tools that I use and I teach is when these emotions start to increase in us, because the chemical reaction, right, triggers the chemical reaction, and chemical reactions change 4 trillion times every second. Hormones change in our body. So one of the tools that I used when I felt triggered is very simple, and it goes like this. It's like when you're triggered, it's like, it's a very state breaking pattern interrupt. So it's just as easy to get angry and go, like it's very easy to do the same thing. It's like, you didn't do it. But I want you to understand that in that moment, you can train and exercise yourself so that you use the body, the emotional state of, and you blow the air out. So you're taking a very big deep breath, which obviously helps with controlling your decision-making process. And one big deep breath is enough to break your state. And then just sort of like push your hands towards the ground, because then that's like a jolt to the body. And that's also like a Ho'oponopono breathing style. You know how you do that? You breathe in and you push down to the ground. Yeah. So you can use it in 2 ways. It'll break your state, but it's also helping you breathe, because majority of the time when we're emotional, we don't breathe properly, which means we're not making decisions properly, which means we're unable to control and manage our emotions.
I love it, and I love that you are using movements, because as a dancer we used it many times, and you can see it. Just take an example, because we have a lot of viewers from Asia. If you see someone doing Tai Chi, collecting the energy and then pushing it out forward and doing it with the breath, and then it's just something that is making your body feeling grounded, and then you put all your senses in alignment, and that will make you aware of the present moment, which is everyone using in meditations, all the artists or all the martial arts, and everyone is using this technique. Even in boxing, then they punch and shout, because it gives more power when you shout with it, right? It's concentrating your focus. So it's really a nice tip, Pjero. Although we will look a little bit weird, but I think we shouldn't care. We just have to calm ourselves down. So don't care about what other people say. If you are suddenly doing this movement and they're looking at you, just smile and you say, well, this is for you. This will be much better after this conversation. I promise.
It takes a lot of and that's part of it, because it takes a lot of self-awareness. And if you're worried, like, by looking silly in front of your loved one, right? Because that's your loved one. So if you're silly about the way you look, if you're just like, like you've already lost who you are if you can't be yourself in front of your loved one. Like,
plus it's like a disruption, because I believe if you're like this in front of your loved one, he or she will start to laugh, so you can start in a different mood.
It'll create a different circle.
It's beautiful. So many good tips. So after we all aware of this, after we cool down ourselves, we have to talk. So that's also sometimes very hard to not, you lost already the anger, you lost already all the things that are stuck inside. But when you talk, maybe you don't think about what you say, so you just mix everything up and you just delete all your efforts that you did before with because you cannot really say the things in a way that it should come. So what angle, what perspective, what style, you have to say on your way, you have to say it on the receiver's way. Tell us a little bit about this point.
Okay, so there's a couple of language tools that I then share with my clients next. Number one, if you can always take a break from each other, write it down. It's just like journaling. It's just the same as reflecting on your day. It's the same as reflecting on that moment. What triggered me? What made it challenging? And I want the audience to understand that, part of the research knowledge and the study that I've done is about understanding our patterns through CBT and DBT. So when you collectively put these things together and then use them for the right tool, like use them as a tool, you start to journal, which means even if you're writing in a space of anger, right? If you've cooled down enough and you just want to unload, you can just write it from an angry place and just get it out. The second part of that, because I think there's a few that you could use here, and that is I feel XYZ and I need ABC. So if you were going to be if someone was arguing with you or your partner was like you were both lashing towards each other, it's like I feel unheard. I need you to listen to me. So I feel unheard. I need you to listen to me in return. I feel unseen. I feel ignored. I feel, like that type of language. And you say, you take ownership of it. You go, this is how I feel. I feel ignored. What I need is like attention around this. And I want to make sure that, like, if you're watching this in the audience and you're watching the recording, it's like when I use the word attention, it's not for attention seeking. It's like, there's so much, half an hour is not enough, Andrea. So
you will continue in your workshop. It's okay. No problem. We will have you at 8 p.m.
So when you think about language, and you say, like, I feel ignored and I need attention, it's like you're saying it in a way that's honest of, like, I would like you to turn towards me, listen to what I have to say, and just focus on me, because then I will not feel ignored. Because majority of relationships, a huge amount of relationships are, first of all, they're amazing. There are a lot of people out there that have really what they would consider okay relationships, and they're quite happy with that. But then there are people that are okay that want exceptional. And some of the things that they've got to change is those little things like language. So when they're walking past their partner and it's just like, hey, how was your day? And it's just a quick flyby conversation, and they're still talking, like the kids are over there, they're talking over the kids, they're talking over this. And it's like, it's not a dedicated, like, hey, tell me all about your day. It's different. It's different. The tone changes. You turn towards someone, you give them the attention they deserve, because not only that, you attract who you think you are. And I've used this before. You attract who you think you are based on the way you respect yourself. So in that moment, if I was to stop what I'm doing, I was to put all those things down, I was to turn towards you, slow my breathing down, look at you and take the time and say, how was your day? It changes the dynamic of the conversation. It changes the situation. You're now in a beautiful state, which means the situation will be beautiful because the person is turning back towards you. They're slowing their pace of their voice down, they're breathing, they're using more, like it's more a connecting voice. And it changes the whole dynamic of the conversation. It's attentive, it's loving, it's caring, it's kind. And that creates connection. Because before I said that alignment, trust, and communication. Well, trust and communication create connection, because you have to trust in yourself that you want to be there, and you have to be able to communicate to yourself, what do I want to give to this person? And when you've got that, you will naturally have a connection without words. So what comes next is the verbal side of that.
I would say it's like treat your partner always like you are on the first date. Just don't get tired of it, but stay like this. And every day, you see, we are like together for more than 8 years, but now you see the flower there. Weekly, I get a bunch of flowers just to, make me feel better, or these kind of things matter. And people don't really know that it doesn't have to be big ones. I hate big valuable things. I don't like gold. I don't like all these things. But when it's very small thing that makes you feel better, and it's coming naturally from curiosity or for just making you or just the want, the need or desire of making the
Yeah.
other person feel a little bit better, it's enough. You
It's plenty.
don't need
It's actually
diamond
plenty.
rings or everything.
I remember having a conversation with one of my very close friends, and I explained it like this: the fact that you're sharing your time with me is enough. Like in that moment, you're sharing your time with me. That's valuable because you can't get back time. So if someone's willing to phone call you, to FaceTime you, to spend time with you, to go to lunch with you, that's their time. They're putting their time into you already. So just like the roses, just like the flowers, the small things, the coffee in the morning, the 1%ers, it makes a huge difference. And time is one of them.
I think time is the biggest one in our fast world. It's just such a fast-paced world that is coming, and we have to be ready that we will be always disrupted. And this is something that is our responsibility, to keep ourselves human and keep ourselves connected by just listening to the person in front of us. And we are out of time, and Stefan is already in the studio. So
Okay.
please meet Pjero tonight at 8 p.m. So in exactly like 4 hours in the workshop room, and he will talk more. And he have this kind of like beautiful theatrical thing that will make you feel that, yes, this is the thing. And it's something that is coming from his heart. And I really love in Pjero. So just experience it. And you will see in the workshop that you will learn a lot. You will have some thoughts. Maybe you change a habit. Maybe you change a little thing after the workshop. And it all counts. Because all the experts here, they come from the best place, from their heart. And they are sharing here for you so that you can get yourself unstuck and you can start something with your life and just have a beautiful future. So thank you very much, Anis and Jack and
Thank you,
everyone
Andrea.
who was watching us. I will bring up Stefan very quickly. Hello, Stefan.
Stefan.
Hey,
How are you today? Hi,
I'm
Steph.
good, thank you. I'm very well.
And
How are you,
Pjero,
man?
you will not believe we will talk about something very, very specific, because Stefan he's specialized on menopause. So he will,
Oh, really?
and he will talk about
Wow.
menopause for ladies. So I'm really excited about this conversation
cool.
and see his perspective.
That's cool. That's really cool.
So really, really nice have you here, Pjero. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Have a nice rest and see you soon in the
I'll
workshop
see you
room.
soon. Bye-bye. See you, Stefan.
See you, Pjero.
So hi, Steph. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Andrea. I'm very well. How are you?
I'm good. Let me just rearrange the studio. So it was a very interesting day. Basically, we started with a workshop with Juliette Han about self-exploration and how to make your passion your work and make a living from it. And then we had beautiful ladies in the studio, Liz, Elena, and Anita, talking about self-leadership and how you can approach a life that you want to have for yourself and that you are always dreaming about. And then we had some financial security with Wasim and Michael. So we deep dive in something for 1.5 hours, and we switched to authenticity with Andrea. And then we are here with Sharil and Pjero and you talking about totally different topics. And I'm so happy about this diversity. I have to say that if people are watching us, you will get a lot of things, a lot of angles, a lot of perspective, a lot of food for thought. So I'm really happy to have you here again, Stefan.
No, it's an absolute pleasure being here, Andrea. It's it was amazing to be part of last year's, and I'm so grateful to be part of this one as well. So yeah, fantastic. Such diversity.
Yes, I just love this because I see the dynamism in the groups and what people are really experiencing. And it's really nice from this backstage perspective. It's a really nice dynamism, what's happening with the audience, with you guys as speakers. So I'm happy to have you all here. Stefan, let's deep dive in our topic because we have time. So it's up to you how long you would like to speak, because this is my time when I have a little bit longer time. So you just tell me when I have to go. And then at 5, I have another session. We are talking about a very specific topic, and I want you to introduce this topic because you are a man, and you know me, I don't like labels, but this is just so interesting why you as a man took up this topic and whether it was hard for you to be in this picture, even from the outside. People mocking you, or you know, what happened to you when you first time said, oh, okay, I'm a menopause trainer?
Yeah, it's for me and my journey really, Andrea. I was in the military for 10 years, and coming out of the military, I set up my own personal training business, and I was running boot camps. And the majority of my client base, I'd say 95% of my client base, were women around the age of 35 to 40. And I'd gone from a male-orientated, male-dominated environment, being in the military, and now I was finding myself being immersed in conversations about menstrual cycles, about incontinency following childbirth, and jumping around in boot camps, and women being concerned about having an accident while they're exercising, and also being immersed in conversations about their relationships and how they weren't feeling great, and they weren't quite sure why they weren't able to lose the weight they did before. So I was almost flying underneath the radar with regards to, I was with groups of women exercising, and I was almost being welcomed into that conversation because I was a trainer. So inadvertently, I found myself feeling a little bit like a duck out of water, a fish out of water. So in order for me to help them better, I had to learn more about what was going on. So I didn't find myself alienated from that sort of conversation. It sort of comes hand in hand. And something I find really interesting is my brother is a hairdresser, and he finds himself in the same scenario. He's immersed in the same sort of conversations, flying under the radar. And we'd have conversations about, not about specific people, but about the things that we found ourselves talking to our clients about. So we were in completely different vocations, completely different jobs, but our demographic were very similar, and we were having very similar conversations. So it was about, for us, and for me specifically, it was about how I could help women around that age group, 35 plus, to experience what health was really about. Because the old narrative, not necessarily the old narrative, but the narrative that works for the younger generation, the 20s, the early 30s, is in order to feel great and lose weight, it's just about eating less and exercising more. And that changes a lot for women, particularly over the age of 35, because sex hormones begin to fall away, and that changes how the body responds to exercising more and eating less. So it was a natural progression for me to immerse myself in understanding what nature can deliver for women without it being a struggle. So that's where it all started. I found myself just immersed in that environment and wanting to know more so I could help more in a genuine way, rather than just putting this label on saying you just need to exercise more and eat less, because ultimately that just caused more stress and anxiety and frustration when things don't work well. So that was the very beginning for me.
And let's talk about the men's perspective, because maybe even some men, like, I would love to hear about Simfong and Anis or whoever is watching us and is a man, because somehow men get intimidated when they have to talk about this topic, or even when they listen to this topic, right? So how was it with your friends around you? Were they just like, all right, Stefan is doing this, all right, let him do what he does? Or were there naysayers that, oh, Stefan, come on, you cannot do menopause, you are a man? Or how does it work, just to encourage the people to go their way? If I want to tell the people that no problem, if you love a topic, you can go for it. And if you have the people who listen to you in that topic, then that's better. So go for it. So what would you say to these people who are hesitating because they are afraid of other people talking about them?
I'm a huge believer, Andrea, that if you work on a perspective of non-judgment, then others won't judge you. So a lot of the time, particularly when people are formulating their ideas about what they can and can't do, they're judging themselves based on other people's expectations of what is right and what is wrong for someone to do, whether you are classically a man or a woman. So if you're judging other people and what they can and can't do, then the subconscious mind expects you to be judged by other people. So, it's natural for people to judge others, but I worked hard on understanding why I judged other people. So I did a little experiment with myself. I took someone that I thought I didn't like and judged them, and it was a politician here in the UK. And I did a lot of research about that person and understood a great deal more about what they'd been doing. And I found myself able to separate myself from judgment to having I call it a 50,000 foot perspective on them. So I was almost working on freeing myself from judging others, and it allowed me to separate myself from worrying about what other people thought about me. So it was quite a freeing experience, and it is a freeing experience when you work less on judgment of others and just focus on self and understanding why you're doing the thing you want to do. But I don't really think about what other people think about what I do. I don't stop and think about that thing, because if I did, I'd be back at square one. So I guess there could be some of my friendship group that go, well, why is he doing that? But I don't know, because I don't allow myself to worry about what they might think, because it influences what I then do for other people. So it becomes a roadblock to me helping more women experience life going through their 30s and 40s and 50s, feeling more energized. So I don't stop and think about that, Andrea. So for me, it's, I guess my advice would be to work on why you feel you're being judged by other people. Is it what people are saying, or is it solely a perspective you have on whether you should be doing that thing or not? And then you can work from there. So it's a really freeing experience to be able to work on self before you then help other people. It really
That's perfect. Perfectly said, Stefan. So get strong enough so that you are not manipulated by others and what they say, and don't even look out. Like Anna Venture said, I don't have time to check my competitors, because then I will be also manipulated and I cannot focus and make my thing as a success. So it's exactly this thing what you do, and I'm really happy to see you as a man doing it, because it's, you know, it's surprising people, and it can be something that is also part of your personal branding, and it helps you also to connect with people in a better way. So Anis is saying, I'm actually a woman and I also new to this topic, but I agree we should avoid judgment. And let's get to it. So let's get closer to it. We cannot go further around it anymore. So let's get to the basics. What is menopause? When is it happening? With whom is it happening? Yeah. Just introduce us the topic a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. It's because every woman will go through this process if they're lucky enough to get to that point in their life. Not every woman is lucky enough to make it in life to the menopause. And over the age of 35, it's initiated in a phase called perimenopause, or it might be known as premenopause in some countries. But perimenopause is basically where the sex hormones begin to fall away. And the first sex hormone to fall away is progesterone, followed by estrogen. And this can happen over a period of between 5 and 10 years. The average age for a woman going through the actual menopause is 51 here in the UK, and it differs in different countries around the world. How those sex hormones affect a woman's physiology and psychology is huge. So it affects things like your sleep, your mood, your ability to digest food, your ability to perceive a situation as stressful or not. So one of the biggest things for me during the perimenopausal phase is I see and I talk to women who are perceiving their lives as becoming more stressful. Now, it's not necessarily that life is becoming more stressful. It's linked to the fact that falling sex hormones, they are pivotal in suppressing cortisol, the main stress hormone. So estrogen suppresses the stress hormone cortisol, which the end result of that is life doesn't seem as stressful. So as sex hormones begin to fall away, a woman's body is less able to suppress stress hormone. So you'll have more stress hormone floating around. So life is perceived as more stressful. Does that make sense? So the outcome of that is feeling less confident with self, is feeling like situations are more overwhelming than they used to be. The fallout from that is, when I talk to a lot of women, their perception is that they can't do the things that they did before because the outcomes they perceive won't be as easy or successful as they were before. So there's a very mixed emotional outcome and a physical outcome based on what's happening with sex hormones. And I talked earlier about the old way of thinking, or the current way of thinking is to eat less and exercise more. And that's what women will believe they have to do in order to lose a few pounds, or to get back to the weight they were before they started to go through the perimenopausal phase, or when they're in the menopausal phase. So it's very important to understand that it is about taking a step back and understanding there's a deeper understanding to what's happening with your body. Now, something that I read a couple of years ago, and I found it super inspiring, is that in the East, women have a positive relationship with menopause. They call it the second spring. Now, if you ask the majority of women in the UK or in the West what their idea of menopause is, it's very much tainted with negative experiences, negative conversation. It's only going to be worse. I'm going to put weight on. I'm going to feel grumpy, blah, blah, blah. All this negativity is surrounding menopause in the West. In the East, it's seen as a time where women develop their voice, develop their confidence. They call it the second spring. So it's just in those words, it indicates freedom. It indicates an opportunity for women to really shine and blossom and grow. So the way the East looks at it, the physiology is exactly the same in the East and the West, but the picture that's painted is completely different. So that will bring into the current feeling from any woman a similar experience. So if the perception is it's going to be negative, that's what they experience. If the perception is it can be positive, and it will be positive, that can be the experience. So it's very much a physiological change, but the most important thing for me personally is understanding the psychology of the application of what you're going through in order to experience what you want and avoid what you don't want. So it's going to happen. There are ways to experience perimenopause and menopause as a liberating, as a freeing, as a chance to explore something new experience. Or if you listen to what everyone else is saying, then you'll just follow the herd and experience what everyone else is saying. And when I say everyone, I'm talking about your friends or your peers, colleagues, family members who tell you this is what happened to me, so this is what's going to happen to you. But it doesn't mean that it's going to happen. So it's being able to say, okay, this is what I hear. With every story, there is an opposite story to be explored. With every side of one coin, there is the opposite side to the coin, the same coin that you can experience positivity from. So it's about exploration of the truth that you can apply to yourself and your situation in order for that ripple effect to move into those people you love. Because if you feel more confident going through perimenopause and menopause, and you're able to manage your day-to-day, how you are interacting with people, you can sleep better, you know what to eat, how to exercise, then it becomes a positive experience, and you share that. And the ripple effect of that is you influence the next generation going through the menopause, as they do in the East. It's the second spring. So it's the narrative based around that.
I love the way how you explain that, how education or just, giving it a little different narrative can make a difference, because it all depends on us, on when we become parents, or on our parents, or on the society, how they see a thing. And this is a very powerful message that you say, so aligned with the summit, that young and old, we all get there, right? It's kind of like the same journey, and it's just that we have to be prepared and share experiences to get on this road and to enjoy life better in a different evolved way than people had it earlier, because we can learn from the experience, like what we heard. But from the positive experience, it will be also a more motivating factor than if you just hear the negative experience all the time, right?
Absolutely, 100%. I've got a daughter, and she's 17. And one of the biggest things for me was, because of my training in the past, it was always about you can only achieve what you want by cutting out food and exercising more. That was basically the narrative I was taught to apply when I was training other people. So I've been through extremes of doing that in competitions for myself. And I might have looked great on the outside, but on the inside, I was tired. I felt low. It was negatively impacting my relationship with my fiance. And I didn't want to pass that ideology on to my daughter, because I knew if she just followed that ideology, she would get to a stage in her life where she would be experiencing perimenopause, all being well. And she would have the same thought process. I just need to exercise more and I need to eat less. But I knew that wouldn't work. So there's huge driving forces for me, was to be able to show my daughter a different way of living, healthy, from the inside, and then that's reflected on the outside. But also, my fiance Rachel is in that perimenopausal time. So what I learn, I can help her with. So I'm in a household where I know more about the woman's body than the two women I live with. So it's really empowering for me, because I'm having conversations about a woman's body, and I feel really empowered to be able to do that, and I feel a real sense of privilege to be able to.
And we just talked about relationship with Pjero. So how good it would be if also the men's side would understand this period, right? Earlier when it's happening. So it would avoid so many things, stress, mood swings, all these things, that people could understand each other a little bit better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The difficulty with that, I'd say 80% of the women that I speak to and work with don't know what's happening inside their body. So an expectation of the man or the partner to understand what the woman is going through is unrealistic, because the woman doesn't know what's going on. So if I give you an example, Andrea, with falling levels of estrogen and progesterone, it affects digestion. It affects your gut health. Gut health is responsible for 80 to 90% of our serotonin production, which is a happy hormone. So if you're going through perimenopause or menopause and your gut health isn't being optimized by what you're doing, your lifestyle choices, then you're 80 to 90% sadder than you would normally be, potentially. So under the surface, it's like the iceberg analogy. So the iceberg above the water is where you don't feel good, you feel a little bit down and sad, or your moods might switch. And that's what you see and experience. And that's what the man sees or the partner sees when you are around that age. So if you don't understand what's going on below the surface, gut health, in order to boost your happy hormones, then it's going to cause conflict between the two people in the relationship. So it's things like that, is going below the surface and understanding it's hugely important to a woman's physiology and psychology in understanding more about what's going on with your body as a woman, in order to put those things in place to feel better about yourself, so you can explain to the man or your partner, this is why I'm not feeling too good at the moment, but this is what I'm working on in order to change that. And until the woman understands what she's going through, the man will never understand it unless he goes out of his way to do lots of research about menopause. And then sometimes that's thin ice, because it's not always received too well because you're too close as a couple. Sometimes the person who you love and care for the most is the person you will shoot down or argue with first. So this is, I believe this is why women will reach out to me to talk to me, because I'm not that close. We're separated by the ether. So there's a distance. So they feel comfortable in sharing their experiences with me.
Yeah, I love the perspective. So like with everything, and we are coming back to every interview comes back to the same thing, that now it's everything is about starting with yourself, to understand yourself, how you work, what's your path, what's your value, what do you want. So deep self-exploration on all areas of your lives, right? So body, mind, spirit. And then once it's done, it will be easier to live a life. And then it's easier to connect with others, because then you also understand others better, right? So that's kind of like the conclusion of all the 200 hours that we had already at this summit. So thank you very much for this. And let's get the tools. I mean, you are talking a lot about the nutrition, and it's super important. I also say as a dancer that 80% of what's happening to you is because of what you eat, and just 20% is exact. And I love this saying, because it's so true. Like, we really have to take care of about the nutrition. But how do we do that? And what is especially what you said just now, like the happy boosters, the food that give you the happy booster?
Yeah. The 80-20 analogy really is something that operates in every aspect of our day to day. I'm a big believer in that. With regards to nutrition, it's a real challenge, because the human body only responds to what we do to it. So in early life, where we're talking about teenage years, early 20s, maybe in the early 30s, the body responds and will work really hard to work with you, irrespective of what your lifestyle choices are. So personally, I've been through a time in my 20s, and I know lots of my friends have done the same thing, where we've burned the candle at both ends. So we would party hard, and we wouldn't sleep very much, and we would think we have to exercise a lot in order to balance those scales. Now, depends on what your lifestyle choices have been, it will dictate what you experience life as in your late 30s, early 40s. So it becomes a habitual pattern of behavior. And once you begin to create those habitual patterns, then that's what you believe you can do consistently throughout your 30s or 40s or 50s or beyond. But you train your body to react in a certain way. So the human body is great. So it is about, and I use the analogy of hitting the Control-Alt-Delete switch. with regards to your, let's call it metabolism, the way the body uses energy. We only use two forms of energy, and it's either sugar or it's fat. So we can train our bodies to use more sugar and to store more fat. Or we can train our bodies to use more body fat and to efficiently use the sugar that we consume. So it's important to be able to understand the physiology and the mechanics of how the body works. And this is what I do to help women understand this, is I taught them through the foods they need to eat, the lifestyle choices they should be focusing on initially to create that control alt delete in order to go through a 3-phase process. And I call it calm, nurture, and balance. So initially it's about calming cellular health, creating that control alt delete. So the body is aware, based on your lifestyle choices, what you're eating, when you're eating, even your hydration levels, how you're creating calmness in your day, focusing on your sleep patterns, and focusing on activity rather than exercise, and how that creates a calming effect internally, both physiologically in the cells, because weight loss and weight management happens at a cellular level. It doesn't happen through just eating what we perceive as healthy food. We have to create a calming effect at a cellular level in order to create balance at the end, and that's the everything in moderation. So from a calming effect, we nurture. And when I'm talking about nurturing, I'm talking about how we help the body work with nature as opposed to working against it. So society today is set up to work against nature. And I'm talking about the pseudo foods, the blue light, the temptation of so many things online that will work against nature. Quick fixes, and they work well for lots of people, but a quick fix diet or a quick fix exercise program, they work against nature because they impose more stress on the system. So they work for a short period of time, and then the body reverts back to what you taught it before once you've finished. So you need to calm physiologically and psychologically, and then you nurture based on how nature works, and then you create a balance. And this is what people call everything in moderation. But what people try and do is they try and go from 0 to everything in moderation without considering how nature actually works. So it's about having 2 previous steps in order to create the everything in moderation, because it's not about living like a nun or a monk. It's about being able to have that 80-20, like we said before. But 80% of what we do now is focusing on health and wellness, maintaining calmness, nurturing and working with nature. And then 20%, we can do what we want. If we want to party, if we want to eat fast food, if we want to drink a glass of wine or a gin and tonic, stay up late, then we can do that as long as we have the balance right to be able to work with nature and not against it. So it's very difficult for me to say this is what you should eat, because it's based on the individual. There are some common foods which we should all be eating. So if you see food and you recognize it as food, so let's say you go to the supermarket, and if you look around the supermarket, 80% of the food in most supermarkets is pseudo food, processed food, packaged food, tinned food, processed food. And only 20% of the food in a supermarket is going to be fresh food that you recognize as food, that's grown in the ground, on trees, that is natural food. So initially, it's about looking at what we're presented with when we go shopping or we do our food shopping online. It's, am I recognizing that 80% of my basket is food that I would recognize as a food group, i.e., green foods are great. I'm not sure why we're repelled against green food, but green foods are great because they're filling our bodies with high densities of nutrition with low sugar content. And sugar is the key to either switching off our fat burning switch or turning it back on. So it's looking at our basket 80% of our foods that I'm buying, do I recognize those as foods, or have they been manipulated in some way? Because I walk around the supermarket and I see people with the opposite balance. 80% of food in their basket is processed, is packaged, is high sugar, high salt, refined food groups. And they might have 20% of food that you recognize as a food group. So I think the most important thing for me to share today is have a look at what's in your basket. 80% of it should be real food, and 20% can be the alcohol, the chocolate, the snacks. But have the balance right, because if you haven't got the balance right, then it's an understanding that's missing somewhere along the line. Because the perception is, I've been eating this food all this time. Surely I can just keep eating it, carrying on, but we can't. None of us can, and it's more important for me to understand that.
I love your share, and I have to tell you that we are experimenting now with a plant-based diet because I read a book, and I was like, let's try it for 3 months, and if we try it for 3 months, let's see how our body reacts, and how is it without the meat, and we try to eat food that is not so processed. So they have this kind of very interesting setup. Michael, the writer, was saying that you have green light food, like on the traffic light, you had yellow light, and you had red light. So it's kind of like putting every food into these 3 different categories. And he's saying, all right, if it's very close to the earth and it's just coming out and you eat it, then it's a green light, because it's all what is already like that in the nature, and then you don't process it, right? And yellow light is a little bit processed, but still okay, right? Like whole meat flour or something like this. And then you have the red light, which is the totally processed food, like a hamburger or a pizza or something. And he's saying, okay, just deal with it. Eat more from the yellow and the green, and eat less from the red, so that you can find your balance. And it's very similar what you said about finding the things and finding the balance, right?
Yeah. And it's very quickly, people will begin to feel the benefits of that. So I'm sure you've felt some of the benefits of that, because irrespective of how healthy we believe we are, there's the thing I love about health and wellness is there's never an end point. There's never a point at which you can say, yes, I'm here. I've learned everything I need to learn. There's nothing else about health and wellness out there that I could possibly learn. It's a completely limitless journey that we can be on. So understanding that, yeah, there's things out there that will work for you, and irrespective of your start point. So for you and I'm guessing you've been involved in exercise and dance and health and wellness for years, just like myself. But we can always be a healthier version of ourselves if we choose to do that and make some sacrifice, because we know it's worth the sacrifice, because the payback is in 10 years time, I'm going to be a healthier version of myself based on the seeds I'm planting for myself right now today. And following
I think especially because of our sporting background, we were some people, I remember some contests that we had, that I was going always to these competitions. I was training, and then weekend we were traveling, and I always couldn't eat during the time when we were contesting, because I was so, you have this kind of like excitement, and then I was like eating one banana and then after the contest I was like, oh, I want a hamburger, or I want a big meal, because I just didn't have any energy. So we learn a lot throughout this journey of being a sportsman or a sportswoman, because first, sports give you a lot of experience. It gives you a lot of knowledge about your own body, and it gives you a lot of knowledge about which food supports yourself when you want to overperform, or when you just want to calm down. It's changing, and it's some people who are not doing sports, they don't experience these things, but we sportsmen and sportswomen have to also take care of ourselves, because it's also, for us, sometimes it's just all about performing, and then we forget the 80-20. So it's happening. It's no guilt. Like, don't judge yourself, guys. It's happening to everyone, even if you are a super healthy person. No one is perfect. We are not robots, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's something that, talking about sports, something that I was talking to a client yesterday, and she is a professional sports person. And because of her attitude towards her sport, she wants to do the best she can possibly do. But that filters into everything else. So when she goes running, for example, she wants to run as fast as she can and beat the previous time, because she's competitive. So everything she takes part in, she wants to do the best she possibly can, which is great. The downside of that is when you're moving from one sporting modality to another, then let's use running as an example. Running is something that most people will go to as a first port of call with regards to exercise. But if you go out and you don't understand nature and how your body works, you can finish an exercise session, a run, and feel really hungry and starving hungry. Now, this is super detrimental to what comes next. So if you go out, if the gate's too quick and too hard and you run and your mind is, I want to beat my last time, you're using the wrong energy system. So you deplete your body of all of the sugar and then you finish. And if your main focus is on maintaining your shape and using more fat as energy, then you finish that run depleted of sugar and your body sends you a message. Eat sugar, or eat certain foods that you're used to eating. So generally they're carbohydrates, because the body's sending a signal and the brain interprets that signal as whatever you're used to eating, the bad stuff. So you finish with a craving. And if you eat carbohydrates, as soon as you've finished an exercise session, you switch off your fat burning. So if your main focus is managing body weight and you're exercising, thinking that's the right thing to do, and then you finish with a craving and whatever you eat turns off your fat burning, you're going against nature and going against what your goal is. So I was talking to them yesterday, and it was just understanding more about the physiology of everybody. It won't change irrespective of who you are. The beauty of the human body, whether you're a man or a woman, is it works exactly the same. It's just understanding that because of falling sex hormones, moving into perimenopause and menopause, we have to take a slightly different stance. And by the way, if you're kinder to yourself and you don't feel like you've got to exercise your ass off all the time, so you're kinder to yourself, it means you can exercise at a lower intensity or just go for a brisk walk, feel better, clear the mind, and you've not put yourself in a situation where you're going against nature and feeling like you've got to eat a lot after you've finished. So you also move in line with your goal. So creating calmness, working with nature, and your goal comes to you as opposed to you chasing after your goal, when you understand how nature works and how your body works in relationship to what you want to achieve. So it all becomes very clear when you, like I said, when you take a 50,000 foot view and go, actually, what am I doing? Does this work in line with my goal, or is it actually working against my goal and nature? And when you understand you can bring those two things in alignment, then you are calmer, you are happier, you do sleep better, you do have better relationships, because there's no frustration anymore.
I think you said it all. This was a beautiful summary. And I think we just end it here in a note that if you would like to connect Stefan, then you will find Stefan on Facebook and on LinkedIn. You just have to search for Stefan Taylor. The name is here below me. And please just search and connect with him. Just write GES 2021 if you have more questions. But before I let you go, I have to ask a silly question, because I have a feeling that you said so many times that men and women are the same and so on. Is there something similar like menopause happening to men? Because the men hormones, I mean, all those things are happening also to some people who are not women but men, right? That the sexual hormones are changing and the testosterone is going down. So is it called menopause, or is it called something else, or it's just like not existing?
There's several I've done a bit of research about this, and it's more speculative. And when you dig a little bit deeper, like the iceberg analogy, it's about what's going on below the surface. So as an example, a man in his 40s who is very much immersed in his career, has a family, loves his exercise, also loves his socializing, might be engaged in meetings, business meetings, staying up late, blah, blah, blah. The biggest impact for testosterone levels in men is a lack of sleep. So burning the candle at both ends for some people is seen as like a kudos tick. Yeah, I don't need to sleep. I get 5 hours sleep a night or maybe less. And some people sort of bang their chest to that. And it's like, why would you do that? Because sleeping for 5 hours or less just for one night reduces testosterone production by up to 40%. So that gives similar feelings physiologically and psychologically for a man as a woman will experience going through perimenopause, because you are sabotaging your own body's sex hormone production. So if you imagine as a man, you are doing this on a repeated basis because you think it's a kudos thing, you bang your chest about it, you love talking to your mates about, I don't need sleep, and I burn the candle at both ends, I exercise hard, I drink hard, I party hard, I work hard. It's like the 1980s Wolf of Wall Street type of mentality that's still filtering in 30 years later. But it negatively impacts the testosterone production. So you can feel more lethargic. And when you stop, what tends to happen is men will pick up bugs or colds or viruses when they stop. So I've talked to and I've worked with some executives who stop for a holiday and feel worse when they've stopped, because they're just living on adrenaline and caffeine and ego. And when they stop to have some time with their family, they're like, oh my, I felt so bad when I took my foot off the gas. And I'm like, I'm not surprised. You've opened yourself up now. Your body thinks, okay, it's calming down at last. But now you're susceptible to infection and viruses and colds because your immune system is harmed so much by your work hard, play hard, male bravado type chest pumping way of living, and it just doesn't work. So there's something similar for sure in men, because it is all about sex hormones. And if you don't understand what they do, how they affect everything that we do, and I call it the big wheel of health, if you don't understand that, then you'll carry on doing what you think is the right thing and getting the same results, whether you're a man or a woman.
I love it. We debunked some myths and we talked about it on the very core. So please, if you are watching this later on a replay, rethink about it, digest it. There was so many value in this interview with Stefan, and I just want you to be more receptive about what you hear here and try to understand it with an open mind. That, yeah, these are the things that are happening, and then you can make a little research, and then you can even contact Stefan or take the next step and work on it, or just read a little bit more, just get to know these things, what are happening to you, and check, do a self-check, right? Like whether it's really happening to me, whether I am feeling moody, or whether is it because I'm at that age, and maybe it will just feel like, well, nothing is wrong with me. I'm just getting to this period of my life, and I just need to talk to someone and read about it more. So thank you very much, Stefan. This was an amazing session as always. I'm hoping to have you here next year again for another session about sustainable health, because next year we have sustainability on the palette for the Global Empowerment Summit. I don't know the form yet, but I will go after you and let you know. And thank you very much. Just tell us a little bit more about how we can reach you better than LinkedIn. Where can people watch you so that they can reach you directly?
Both Facebook and LinkedIn. You can search me for my personal profile on Facebook or LinkedIn as Stefan Taylor. We have an open group called "It Only Takes 60 Days to Success." So we have an open group on Facebook that you can join, and it's the information there is obviously geared towards women of a certain age. So if you want to learn or discover any more, then drop in there. But drop me a message on Facebook. Find me on Facebook, drop me a message, say hi. If you just want to ask me a few questions, then the best way is just to send a message and say, look, I've got this question. How can you help?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Stefan, for being here. And I know you are busy, so I let you go. And for the people who are watching us, Simfong Jag, Anis, thank you very much for all the beautiful comments here. If you still have questions, if you are rewatching this replay, just put it in the comments and I will make sure that Stefan can come back to you. And have an amazing day. The day is just starting for you in the UK, so enjoy. And we will see you very soon.
Fantastic. Thanks, Andrea.
Thank you, Stefan. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.